There is a huge amount of investment going into renewable energy, and there are some markets now, particularly in Europe, where half of the energy consumption a day, in my own country, the UK, some days half the energy consumption is derived from renewable sources now, and that's developed over the last 10 years without anyone really noticing.
Now, leaps and bounds, it seems, for certain developed markets like Europe, but when you look at the developing world, especially here in Southeast Asia, it's a different challenge. Some say that it's an unfair burden to ask them to finance these huge transitions. I believe the estimate is that you need $126 trillion just to get to net zero by 2050.
Exactly.
Is there more that needs to be done to make sure that it's more equitable or accessible for developing countries like, for instance, other neighbors in Southeast Asia to get to these goals and to get to actual accessible and affordable financing?
That's a very real discussion. So half the total that you just listed, we think is needed in Asia, 60 trillion or so. And just to put that in context, we measure the reserves and assets of reserve managers and public investors like sovereign wealth funds, and we think that's something like 40 trillion. So it's a huge amount of money that's needed just in Asia for the transition. And Asia, of course, it's a very heterogeneous region, but is full of countries which are going to be more impacted than many others by climate change, and already are. But as you'll probably know, that at COP, the UN convention which discusses these issues, about to take place in Dubai in December, 2 years ago they agreed, exactly as you say, that different goals are required for different regions. So India and China in particular have pushed back on being obliged to decarbonise their economies at speed. And you'll of course have typically heard the argument that it's unfair, particularly for the developed world, European countries who had their industrial revolutions 100, 150 years ago, to ask developing nations not to have theirs in order to face the climate challenge. So there's a very real discussion in this forum about whether the same goals are applicable everywhere all the time, particularly in this region.
Hi, I'm Emily Tan, and thanks for watching CNBC. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.